What's going on, Packers fans? Some Carry the G radio off script a little bit. Carry the G radio at 97.3 The Game went off the air a couple weeks ago, but I'm back with Billy. Talk some Super Bowl 58. Bill, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Appreciate the shout. This is going to be fun. We got some stuff coming up down the pike, but I get that message and I was fired on up. Let's talk about that big game.
Big
sure that
game.
we
You
watch
know,
out for the licensing.
I call it the Super Bowl, man. It's the fucking Super Bowl. I don't care. Come at me, NFL.
Please pick a fight with us. Let's have
What are they
some
going to
fun.
do? Come after our YouTube account? Come on.
It'd
Come
be
on,
better for
NFL.
business if they did.
I probably would be, actually, just from a PR standpoint. And you're right, talking about down the pike, Billy and I will be in Indianapolis for the Combine in a few weeks.
Wait.
My guy, come on now. It's your first time going to Indy for the Combine, if I'm not mistaken?
My first time going. I appreciate you allowing me to tag along and learn the ropes alongside the Indy veteran. Showing us how to learn this.
By the ropes, you mean like where to go at night for the best drinking spots where the most NFL people will be.
Yeah, and also to make sure to have somebody to talk to, so you're not that creepy guy right at the corner just sitting here like,
hey, don't be dissing my MO, because I am the creepy guy at the end of the bar by myself more often than not, But hey,
don't tell my secrets.
It's only because I know I'm going to run into people I'm friends with, so
That's one of the things that and now you'll laugh at me as the youngin here.
Okay.
That still blows my mind about how you guys used to go out just on a regular Saturday night of knowing like, hey, we're going to show up at this spot
and people are going to be there.
And if they don't, who cares?
Isn't that better though?
You don't ruin your night. Hold on one sec. Where's Rick? Like he's just not coming.
The whole group dynamics aspect of life, just rid yourself of all of that and you'll be a lot happier. I guarantee.
Probably enjoy life a lot more. Yes, no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. Everything will happen. But I digress. The Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday, and I did want to talk to you about it. And I wanted to lead with probably the most important question, because I know what type of guy you are.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be laying any money on the Reba McEntire anthem?
Yes.
As far as the over or the under? I know the over is set at 1 minute and 30.5 seconds. I love the half second. Or under 1 minute and 30.5 seconds. Where are you residing?
That's a heck of a number too, because generally it sits somewhere around like 1:50 to 1:58.
Yeah, those R&B artists traditionally like to, a couple extra runs, elongate the song.
And Mickey Guyton was one of the first ones to like really tighten it. And then I want to say it was Stapleton last year, and people are like, okay, this is a dead nut under. And he kind of dragged it out on the
well, he did a slow version too.
Yeah,
he
and I was sitting here with the under saying, come on, Chris. Come on, Chris. But no, I will be, and I am leaning towards the under with Reba. However, she's a
born performer.
Born performer, exactly.
She's gonna milk every second of that worldwide attention.
So that's where the value goes to the over. You would think, correct?
I think so. I see. That's a tough one.
I've listened to I'm a Survivor too many times with my sister, 4 years older than me, watching Reba on reruns for 7 hours a day on the CW. So I've heard her sing a few times. I got to think she's over.
Obviously, Billy, this is why I love talking not only ball, but all things with you. The fact that I didn't even prompt you. I didn't send you a rundown. You had no idea I was going to ask about the over-under of the anthem, and you hopped right on it. That's just the best. You're the best.
Yeah, working with structure has never been one of my fortes.
You're like Mahomes, out of the pocket, making magic. Speaking of Mahomes, let's start on that side of the ball with Kansas City having the ball in this Super Bowl. Man, I'm fascinated to see, obviously, both of these offenses, but in particular, this is a game where I know clearly Mahomes will get all the headlines, Travis Kelce and his girlfriend plastered everywhere. But to me, this is Isaiah Pacheco's game. Like, this is a game where, Aaron Jones against the 49ers averaged 6 yards per carry. They're coming off a game against the Lions where they gave up 182 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Like, the San Francisco 49ers are ripe for the picking, especially kind of on the perimeter in the run game. I think Pacheco's due for a monster game. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being the MVP of this contest.
Ooh. Okay, now you're talking sports investing. That's a good value play right there, Nags. I like that. And they don't love repeat quarterback winners. I mean, you start looking at how
Exactly.
many times Brady won the Super Bowl and how many times he won the MVP. It would surprise some. I'm right there with you in lockstep with Pacheco. I think he's a fantastic matchup here, but not only because of what the Niners don't do well, which is stop the run on the outside, especially, but what Kansas City's offense is so susceptible to. Like they've had a tackle problem all year long, which
Truly.
is again amazing that they're in the Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
Like it just speaks to the greatness that we're watching of him and Andy Reid, who sometimes gets kind of
Some of the
not lost in this,
I
but
mean, it's
somewhat
got to be the
pushed off.
best kind of quarterback coach, like as far as play caller, play designer, game planner combo with a quarterback since like Walsh and Montana. I'm
At
sorry,
least.
but
Yep.
it's incredible to watch how they've, as you kind of intimated there, like righted the ship on the back end of this season into the playoffs where they're playing without question their best ball.
Yeah, and they're doing it by protecting the offensive line because, as you and I talked about on the show most of the year, as much as it pains me to say, offensive line play is down across the league, right? Like it is,
Seriously.
it is a more difficult job now than it ever has before, and you're getting a few less and less more qualified guys to be taking those spots. So
Yep.
they got Taylor on the outside, who is one of, if not the leader in holding penalties across the NFL.
He's a walking penalty waiting to happen.
You find ways to neutralize Bosa and Chase Young's, 75% effort that you're mostly going to get for 3/4 of the game. You neutralize
Especially
that
against
with
the
some
run.
chips.
Right.
Yeah, and you get those guys out moving. I think that's why they stick to it. The other part of it is I think it kind of clouds up the ability to double Kelsey if you keep running
Right.
towards the outside and you start redirecting him inside. That's the game, right? How on earth do you find Travis Kelsey wide open 7 or 8 times? Because you know it's going to happen, and generally Mahomes doesn't miss them. So you just got to see how many times they start setting that up, I think, later for into the game.
Well, I was hearing both Travis himself kind of reference this, but Luke Kuechly, I believe he was on Kay Adams' show, and he talked about how, the trouble with Kelsey in the open field is it's not a question of like you can read route combos all day, right? And okay, against certain coverages, they like to do this. Well, that's all well and good. You can study all of that, but he has the green light to just work into open space whenever he thinks
Totally.
okay, I can make a play over here. And he and Mahomes have such a great connection. It's impossible to read that pre-snap, and it's impossible to kind of keep up post-snap. So you're really, really dealing with the devil there when you talk about, okay, we're going to man him up and roll coverage to him. Well, good luck, because he's going to see where the open area is that you've just vacated and take advantage of it.
And it's something else that you see more and more with tight ends now. Kittle's one of the few dudes I think in the league that doesn't have quarterback experience
Right.
at the tight end spot, right? Like it's so second nature to Kelsey after playing quarterback for so long, and it was one of the reasons why so many people in Green Bay loved Bobby Tunyon, because he was of that ilk of just kind of understanding when you need to get open and find some cushions. Obviously, no one's done it better than Travis because nobody has his kind of silky smooth agility. Like
Truly.
he reminds me of so many different basketball players that big guys wish they were, right? Like they think they can make all these incredible maneuvers. Kelsey seemingly can, even though he's not blazing fast. He's not incredibly agile. He's just really, really smooth. And dude is just so efficient.
It's crazy too, thinking back to when the Chiefs came to Lambeau earlier this year, right? And Kelsey looked like he was on his last legs in that game.
Yeah.
Like he got open a couple times, but for the most part, I thought, oh wow, it's winding down for Travis. But then you look at this playoff run, and hell, just like December in general, like he has played like he's found some kind of fountain of youth. I don't know what that could possibly be. Maybe someone's watching from the
Trip
press
to
box area
Argentina.
there. I don't know, possible,
Yeah.
but. He is, he's completely come on. That back shoulder touchdown that he caught against the Ravens. I mean, that's something that you saw like 5-8 years ago. Yeah, and you can't defend it. So you start talking about Travis Kelsey, who, by the way, is 3 touchdowns away from tying Jerry Rice's postseason record for touchdowns. I mean, what? That's insanity. That's
those were
insane.
what we thought. Those were what we thought were untouchable records.
Yeah.
when he set those, and doing it mostly with Rich Gannon as a Raider, finding additional times for it. Kelsey's done it. And I think my favorite part about Kelsey, and some people don't like talking about it right now because of who he's dating and why they're the most famous couple legitimately in the world.
Truly.
I embrace that, and I like that it's a football player.
Absolutely.
As Pat McAfee says, he's doing us well. All right, he's making football people look good by treating her well on the public stage. In and of itself, he's like a combination of Antonio Gates and Tony Gonzalez, right? He's got the more physical build of Gates, but he's got just some of the savviness that Gonzalez had on that back shoulder that was just made him at that time the best we had ever seen do it. And Kelsey somehow did better than
doing
him
it better
in Kansas City. In his
by the way, speaking of Antonio Gates, I mean, come on, you mean should have been Hall of Famer Antonio Gates, but they had to put a fucking returner in the Hall for some reason. Don't get me started, man. We're talking about the Super Bowl here. Okay, let's switch it around to when the 49ers have the ball. Oh, wait. No, there's one thing I do want to add before we get to that side of the ball. Final thing for me anyway, and anything you want to throw in, feel free. But for me, this game, at some point, you're talking about being a betting man, put some money on this. MVS is going to make some big play down the stretch late in the game. When maybe he's been a bit of an afterthought late in the game, some third down, they're going to take a shot and MVS is going to deliver. That is what he has done his entire time with the Chiefs. He was the only Packer to come play back in 2020 in the NFC Championship game. My guy just brings it when the lights are on.
And I like that you mentioned it from the gambling perspective. So let me share a quick story to double down on that.
Let's do it.
AFC title game. Patrick Mahomes' longest pass completion, 34.5 yards. MVS's over on his longest reception, 12.5 yards. Hold on. If Mahomes is hitting somebody for 35, 90% of the time, it's going to have to be him.
MVS. Right.
Well, the 32-yarder to finish the deal did hit his over for yardage, did hit his over for catches, did hit his over for longest reception, just under on Pat. I was almost able to shut the box 4 for 4 on it, but I'll be doing the exact same thing again this week.
You have to.
Because he has, and Nags, that he can be a question mark, no doubt about it.
Yep.
But he has played big in some of their biggest
games big moments.
Played in. Yes, no doubt
both
about it.
In Kansas City and in Green Bay, and his absence was always noticeable in Green Bay.
Yep.
And in Kansas City, it's like he's a bit of an afterthought until they absolutely positively need that play. I mean, go back and look at last year's Super Bowl. Guy did the same thing. It's just how he operates. So that's one thing where I know at some point MVS is going to have a big play.
He's going to have a moment, and I think this is the other part of Reed that I love watching and realizing, and you kind of just see it throughout it.
Right.
He rewards guys that do the right stuff throughout the season.
Yep.
And it seems like they're going to get – and if you're active, you're going to get a touch, right? Like Mecole Hardman was active in the game in Buffalo. He gets the end around on the goal line. Why are you giving him the football? Well, he's active. He's going to get a touch. So if you're out there, somebody's going to get the football. He's going to get a chance to make a play.
I love it. And then, yes, on the other side, when San Francisco has the ball, this is crazy. I just kind of was, reading up on both teams, and I stumbled across this nugget, which is insane to me. The 49ers are the first team in NFL history to have a running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end each finish with 1,000+ scrimmage yards in the same season. What? I mean, this is the thing when the 49ers are trying to play like, oh, we're the underdogs. No, you're not. You've been tearing through this league all year long. Like, yeah, you were on the ropes in the playoff games, but you're still an insanely talented team, as evidenced by that statistic. That's insane production.
Well, and they are why teams are so enamored with having the rookie quarterback on the rookie contract, right? Like they just, you salivate at it because you can load up with Avengers and go out and try to fight crime with one of the best offenses around. But the other part of it is, Nags, and this is where I do, as much as I believe Mahomes should be favored in any playoff game that he plays in. I believe he's been an underdog 5 of his last 6, 4 of his last 5.
Last couple games in the playoffs, he's been an underdog.
Yeah, he has. So, and I understand this one though, because of the talent that is on that side, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They can, as long as you can orchestrate the offense, you're going to be able to gain yardage at a pretty insane clip. But once Debo goes out of the game, that was the weird stat on San Francisco of how much their yards per carry plummet, or yards per play
when he's
plummets when he's not on the
absolutely.
field. The secondary option, and I think Packer fans, we obviously saw that more with Jayden Reed throughout the year. The stress that puts on defenses when you realistically can give the ball to the guy that's going across the line of scrimmage and he can do something dangerous with it, it changes how you have to account for it. And two guys that in the inside of Kansas City's defense that can account for it, Bolton and Gay, are two of the better sideline to sideline linebackers. That's why I do like that matchup to at least be somewhat neutralized for KC because of their backers.
Well, and that's the thing too. You got to think there's zero doubt that Shanahan, who loves to run the ball as it is, but he knows in this game he has got to run the ball. I mean, he's got to pay or absolve the sins of Monken in that Ravens game where, for whatever reason, they absolutely tried to drop back and throw it all over the yard against a really good pass defense in the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a game where, I mean, here I saw this. The 49ers use 21 personnel 38% of the time, which makes Juszczyk like the ultimate weapon here, because that's where you're going to get your answers from Spagnuolo about how he plans on playing them. Like, if you come out and play base, all right, now I'm going to get Juszczyk and McCaffrey in space and use them as receivers. If you respond with your nickel, well, I'm going to pound the football. And you better be able to hold up. And Kansas City, that's how the Packers beat them. They just pounded A.J. Dillon, 4 yards a carry, kept ahead of the sticks, kept Mahomes on the sideline. That's 100% how I expect Shanahan to approach this game.
Oh, I expect this to be a long drive, methodical kind of game. Yeah. I expect it to be one where you have to finish long drives. I mean, that Green Bay game, was there 3 series in the first 7?
Half.
Yeah, in the first half.
Right.
That was it.
I think Kansas City got a quick one right at the end of the first half. Not essentially, like, no time left on the clock.
And for you to be able to win this game, I think if you are KC, you also do have to hold the football more and more to hold that offense off of the field. But I want to get your take on this, because you mentioned Monken, and it's classic. It's classic for offensive coordinators to overthink and try and make everything more about their legacy situation, right?
Yep.
Brady did the same thing. I mean, you're grinding out that Kansas City defense. I mean, just rolling it on them, and started barely giving the ball back to James Cook late into the fourth quarter. And it was as short passes as you could, because we wanted to make it a Josh Allen legacy game.
No,
felt like they wanted it to be a Lamar Jackson legacy
Seattle game. Knows all about this.
You got to find just ways to win. Yeah, but you got to find just a way to win the game. And that's an incredible note for Pat, that he already knows that he can win a game if he throws the ball 60-plus times. This year, he got to experiment, and he's finding out he's 1 game away from winning the title. If I can throw it 25 times.
Yep.
And we can win it. Let's see if we can do that. That might be more fun. And that might just be exactly what they do on Sunday.
I think they have to. That's the other thing, because you can't. The thing with San Francisco is their ability to, as you say, like, move the ball methodically and keep your offense on the sideline. You can't be messing around on offense, which Andy Reid sometimes does. Like, there are more than a handful of occasions where he gets a little too cute for his own good, I'll say. I don't think that's telling tales out of school. But with the 49ers, if they do try to get McCaffrey involved in the passing game, I love the matchup with Justin Reed. And there's zero doubt. I mean, he's essentially a third linebacker at times for Kansas City, and he's really effective in pretty much every aspect, everything they ask him to do. But he and McCaffrey, now that's worth the price of admission. That's something where I think both of them will get the better of each other a few times throughout this game.
Yeah, I mean, just think of those premier matchups like that one, and then on the flip side, anytime you get Warner against Kelsey, I mean, that's box office. That's why you sign up for these games. And I'd love to see, as a Chiefs investor, because that is where earlier in
Mahomes and the points, how can you pass? Right?
Come
on.
I hope they ask Purdy to try to win the game.
Yes.
Throwing around the numbers.
Yep.
Because if you do that, you're just asking for trouble. And that's where you figure out if one of these two sides, the egos get too much involved, that we want to showcase, and that's how we win the game. It happens all the time. We'll
Kyle
see if
Shanahan was the offensive coordinator of a team that lost a game in this game that they were winning 28-3 back in the day.
And this is I'm a pro wrestling guy, Nags, right? So the storylines of these are awesome.
Right.
Just think how the story would be different if it's not a 21-0 run with 8.5 minutes to go in Super Bowl 54.
Crazy.
And they're meeting again here in Super Bowl 58. And it's not a tall tale to say the Niners could have been in 3 to 4 of the last Super Bowls.
Absolutely.
They've been right on the doorstep every single time. And they just haven't been able to be the dynasty that the Chiefs can cement themselves in as with a win on Sunday.
No question about it. All right. Rubber meets the road. Brass tacks. Give it to me. I think you just kind of revealed it there a little bit, but what's your prediction for Sunday? Who wins? What's the score? Who's the MVP?
So I went 24-20 Chiefs. And so who I think ends up winning the MVP, I think it's going to be Travis. Now that's where the fan voting part of it,
right.
I think changes the dynamic here a little bit.
You're not wrong.
In the simulations in my mind, right? The Madden simulations in my mind for the long shot. If any Cheesehead TV viewers really enjoy having a lottery ticket in their hand, one of the two corners.
Nice.
At 250-1.
Nice.
To win the MVP.
There you go.
You get one pick six, we can Malcolm Smith this bad boy like it's MetLife Stadium.
Let's go. I'm down with that. I love this idea. I'm going the Chiefs as well in a little bit more of a high scoring affair. It's always interesting. It's always kind of tight early, right?
Yep.
And then things tend to somewhat loosen up as the game goes on, especially in the second half. I'm thinking 31-28 Chiefs. And funnily enough, even with that score, I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to be your MVP.
I love it. And that's one of the pathways to it. I like the fact that there seems to be a push for it to be a non-quarterback, even though it's
hard not. If the Chiefs win, it's hard not to give it to Mahomes. That's just
always
blank, that, which I get.
Now, this is one final thing before we get on out of here.
Yeah.
Is there a call that we're talking about more on Monday than plays on the field?
I mean, okay, why'd you have to throw it out there, man? We were doing so well. And the playoffs in general, let's be honest here, the playoffs in general have been officiating drama-free.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had a game where all we're talking about afterwards is the officiating or a call even.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there have been, certainly, because there is in every game, calls where I'm like, what the f- is that? But it hasn't driven any narratives. It hasn't decided any games. Let's keep it like that. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm hoping. And I think the league likes the Super Bowl to be with less laundry officiating, right? Less of that around. Bill Vinovich rarely is let's try to get in the way, dude.
From everybody they have left as far like to pick from, he's still the best. Like
hands down.
He's not my favorite all time. I don't think he's excellent, but I think of this group that they have available, he's the best. So
yeah, he's definitely my favorite outside of I can't remember my man's name. I want to say Land Clark just because he appears to be the most annoyed person in the stadium.
Packers had him once this year. Yeah, no doubt.
Deep sighs every time he makes a call. Appreciate it, man. It's really not that bad.
It's really, really not that hard to gig, even though you guys try to make it so. Billy, I can't thank you enough for jumping on Cheesehead TV, previewing the Super Bowl. And like we said at the top, be sure to look out for Carry the G Radio coming to you live and recorded from Indianapolis at the Combine in a few weeks. Bill, thanks so much, man.
Negs, can't wait, dude. I'll see you at the end of the month.